Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back once again to the Operational Intelligence Market Overview here at InsideAnalysis.com. My name is Eric Cavanaugh with the Bloor Group, and today we're going to be talking to Pablo Alvarez of Denodo about the Denodo platform. They have a new version coming out, version 5.0, I believe. And so with that, Pablo, I'm going to turn it over to you. Show us what you got.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Well, first I will show a couple of slides to present a little bit of the context of the business problem. Then we'll turn over to the tool to actually show you how to do these things and solve these problems with data virtualization. So a problem that we usually find in corporations is that for end users, there is no easy way to create reports, search data, create the operational dashboards, based on the idea that they have on the consolidated view of the items. Maybe they have customers, they have invoices, they have a clear idea of what that means, but in reality, they have something like this in the back end. Maybe a piece of customers in the CRM, and another piece in the ERP, and part of the incident is in Hadoop in this case, another part involves reading log files, and another part maybe in another database. So there is a gap between how data looks like in reality and how they expect that reality to be. So data virtualization is trying to close that gap, solving these challenges. Probably the most important one is that data resides in different places with different capabilities, different formats, different protocols, different levels of structure. You can go from something completely structured, such as a database, where you can issue specific SQL commands, to something on the other side of the spectrum, like a document that you need to crawl an index and then perform Google kind of searches on top of that, and everything in between, like multidimensional data stores, NoSQL databases, web services, or even websites. So to provide these entities, these models for the business entities, you require combination of that data, transformation to comply with your data quality, associate these different entities so you can know from the outside that a customer will have invoices, that there is like a one-to-many relationship between those entities. And of course, you need to ensure good performance to all these new layers that you are building. So with that said, I'm going to turn over to the Node administration tool, where I can show you how this is done for real. So here on the left side, you can see my entities that I was mentioning in the previous slide in this tree. This is the tool that a developer will use to create and define the connection to the sources and define the transformations, as well as the administration tool where you can define the server settings. So let me open one of these views. Looks like a table. I can execute it. I can add filters, execute a table in a database, and I get my data back here. But in reality, if I show you here the tree view, you can see how this view is actually made as a combination of 4 different tables coming from 2 different databases. Okay, like a MySQL database and a SQL Server database. So how do I get from this original sources to this combination? That's the task of the developer that I will show you in just a second. I open other entities here, for example, incidents. Here in preview, you will see how this is also a combination of data coming from MongoDB, log files, and other sites, and so on. How do I get from the very beginning, the connection to the sources, to these final views? So step number 1 is usually connecting the sources, setting up the different connection streams, filling the wizard that Denodo provides for that, the different types of sources. Then incorporating these first objects here, what we call base views, which is basically the representation of the original object in the original data source. And from there, those are the foundational blocks to start combining using relational operations and defining transformations to get to your views that you can later combine into like more complex reports. This one here is a combination of 3 different entities here, or enable access from the outside so you can create reports from Tableau or MicroStrategy or Cognos, or access these as services. Let's get started then. The connection to the sources, as I said, is usually the first step. Denodo can connect to all kinds of sources. You can see some examples here, starting in completely relational databases or warehouses, multidimensional data stores like Hyperion, Base, or SAP Business Warehouse, all kinds of applications or applications in the cloud like Salesforce.com, NetSuite, things like that. And new sources like Hadoop, different flavors or NoSQL databases like MongoDB I will use in this demonstration, but also
yeah, and all of these data sources, that's all built in, is what you're saying, right? Like the tool comes packaged with all of those connections.
Exactly. I will show you in just a second, like an example with a couple of them. Okay. For example, with a database, you can simply create a new data source with DBT, and from there to create a connection. You simply have to pick the adapter to your specific database. This will handle things like translating to the specific dialect of that database, SQL dialect. And from here, you can see the different tables that exist in the original schema of your database. Now you have to start creating here the virtual schema, incorporating objects from your data sources into Denodo to create these base views that represent these tables. I'm not moving data, I'm simply creating a reference to those objects. So for example, I can simply click those two views, you can create selected base views. They will become here incorporated to my virtual schema so I can later combine them. Let me mention a couple of interesting details here in the combination side. Denodo doesn't only support this type of flat tables. It also offers support for hierarchical structures, because when you are dealing with web services, for example, you have this kind of hierarchical structure defined in XML or defined in JSON. Denodo offers native support for that. You can see here how Denodo creates based on a sample request to that web service, creates this complex hierarchical structure that mirrors that structure in the web service. Of course, you can now execute it from here using SQL and get your data back to your main middleware. On the other hand, maybe you have to flatten these, go to a flattened structure. Denodo also offers the flexibility to go back and forth between hierarchical complex models and flat tables if you need to then publish them for a reporting application. This is also becoming very important with NoSQL databases. For example, in MarkLogic or MongoDB, you also have this kind of complex data types if you are usually storing information using JSON or XML. So supporting this native representation of the models becomes very important. As I was mentioning at the beginning, Denodo doesn't stop here in traditional sources. It goes beyond into semi-structured and non-structured sources. And with semi-structured, I mean, for example, that you might go to a website and get the information from there. So usually you have to do that manually, fill in some forms in the website and then copy-pasting data if you need to get that information from there. Denodo allows you to automate that process. And for example, I have this table here called clinicaltrials.gov. This is actually a wrapper, a connector to our website. If I click execute, you will see how Denodo pops up a browser, automatically navigates to this website, and gets this information that you can see here as a table completely structured. So it's applying a pattern on top of this website, extracting information from here, automating, controlling all the navigation to fill the search box and this thing, and returning the information from you. So you are literally creating a connector to a website that allows you to query the web in SQL. Also for non-structured content, Denodo has a connector called Arachne that allows you to crawl non-structured files or websites and create an index on top of that you can later query and integrate with the rest of the views. So from here on, you have your views connected, you have your foundational schema, your foundational tables, you can start combining them. For that, Denodo offers different wizards for all the relational operations, join or even like more exotic operations such as minus or intersect to create and define these transformations. For example, if I click on Edit for Customer, you can see here the drag and drop interface where you can drag new objects, drag the arrows to define the join conditions, and start creating and defining your combination. You can find here the type of join, like change that to a left outer, kind of things, add filters, add grouping, and here you can also define the structure of the output. You can change the structure of the table by like removing fields, changing the name of the field, even using supports Unicode, so you can do things like that, or use Chinese characters to define the name of the field. But it's not only about changing the structure and defining the shape of the table. You can also define rules to transform your data. You can create new fields based on the data here, or you can edit the content of the fields, for example, here in Form, and apply transformations. So it's not that you're creating a copy of the data and with the data transformed. Here you're setting up the rules that will be applied in real time as data flows through the execution engine to apply the transformation. For that, Denodo has a large library that you can see here of different functions to provide you the capabilities to transform the data. And this is also very interesting because it's extensive. You can see here this left part function, for example, has a C at the beginning. That means that it is a custom function. So Denodo offers an SDK where you can define your new transformations and register them as a plugin in Denodo. You can start using them from here, getting the functions integrated with the autocomplete features and making the life easier for the developer. So with that, combining the data, applying the transformation rules, defining the shape of your entities, you get to create these different outputs. As I said, you can go farther now and do like more complex reports by combining and aggregating this data as well. If you are a power user, maybe instead of using these basic graphical wizards, you want to use the shell. So for that, Denodo also offers a shell where you can type and execute commands directly from here to test, to enable like agile creation, manipulation of SQL. One extra thing before I move on from the development side is what are the associations. I will tell you why this is important. So associations, you can see here different objects with a different icon, represent relationships between objects in the node. In this case, you can see a relationship between customer and incidents. This is saying that customer can have like many incidents, and that an incident belongs to a customer based on the conditional name. This is important from two perspectives. From the perspective of using Denodo as a database, for example, for reporting, let me show you here. Jasper Reports is an open source reporting tool. Jasper Reports or Cognos, Tableau, MicroStrategy, these kind of tools can connect to Denodo using ODBC, JDBC, or ADO.NET interfaces. In this case here, I'm using ADBC. You can compare the connection pointing to the driver. So if I'm using, like in this case, Denodo as a virtual database for reporting, these tools can execute complex SQL on top of that. And those relationships that I was defining here will be exposed as primary foreign key restrictions. So that enables these kind of tools to help me drawing those relationships as associations between the tables to create help in the creation of these complex reports.
Okay, we only have 2 minutes left, just so you know. We've got a hard stop, so
all right. Now, from the other perspective, using this as a data service, Denodo can publish this object as different types of services. Widgets that you can deploy in portals, scope web services, and will provide you a wizard for that and will generate a wizard file, and also the RESTful interface, which is very interesting because it allows you to literally browse your data and try to navigate through the different relationships. So you can see here the HTML output. I can click on my entity, navigate between them. You can reconnect. It offers pagination. Of course, if you want to use this from an operational standpoint, probably you will use this from devices. Sorry. So it also offers the output in XML or JSON simply by using the format operation in the URL. And as I was saying, it's very interesting because it doesn't only show you this table here. It also allows you like a complex search. So you can, for example, use different operators to search for people name, like John something. You can select the projections, you can specify the order by, and you get your data back here. And among the columns, you can see here incidents and invoices. This allows you to navigate between entities, traversing the relationships that you are setting up as your association. You can see how using the RESTful IDL, specifying the entity, the ID, and the association, you can navigate jumping from entity to entity as this was simply a website.
Wow.
So it gives you a lot of flexibility to access and discover all your data assets, whatever the format and the protocol and the data sources in the backend. You can go, in this case, I'm jumping from, in this case, this is a multidimensional data warehouse. This data is coming from a web service, and this data is the combination of two different tables. No coding, zero coding here, just simply based on the definition of the tables and the definition of the relationships.
Wow, that is powerful stuff. And so you just literally connect to your data sources, and then obviously you can do all these various things, some of which go certainly beyond what people thought of data virtualization a couple of years ago. It looks like you're getting into data quality and data governance and data lineage, all of which I frankly saw coming a few years ago and wondered when this kind of thing would start happening. So I wish we had more time to talk with you, but we do have a hard stop. But this has been a very, very enlightening view into the world of data virtualization. So we've been talking today with Pablo Alvarez, and also we'd spoken earlier with Suresh Chandrasekaran of Denodo Technologies as part of our market overview here at Inside Analysis. So thank you so much for this demonstration, folks, and we'll catch up to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.